oh, well, they've come in with their generic and we're not going to play anymore because they only give all the support when they're making money. And it's just, but you need them. You need the drug companies to fund the research and development. And it really, you know, but the academics who I work with, they can't get any trial funded that's not likely to. They were trying to get an Ocrevus trial funded, ocrelizumab,
Yep.
see if you could use it like alemtuzumab in a much higher upfront dose instead of just keeping people on it. Because everybody here, if we all took ocrelizumab, everybody on this, all of us, it would be the same 600 milligrams every 6 months, but we're all different weights. We've all got a different body mass. But they're like, screw it, and everybody gets 600 milligrams. Me, somebody who's twice my size or somebody who's half my size, but it's just good money. When I stopped ocrelizumab, it took 72 weeks before I even got a B cell back. Yeah, because they wanted to see that I had a B cell, the ability to make B cells again before they killed them all with alemtuzumab. But and that's exactly what all the studies show. Is it's 72 weeks to get it back, which is why they're trying to go to extended interval dosing. Some of the doctors, because there's no point filling you full of a toxic drug, every 6 months.
Which you can understand if it's still in your system and the cells haven't come back. You can kind of understand why they would do that, because actually get to the point where it's starting to come back, then get rid of it rather than kind of, as you just said, about a year and 3 months, roughly, give or take. And that's the whole point. You could do that, potentially.
Yeah.
But by the sound of the drug companies, they wouldn't necessarily want that.
They're not keen on this.
Because
exactly.
Exactly, they've got that 9 month gap between the drugs that you're being given. Obviously, they're not going to like that. From your point of view,
it's big money. It's really big money. In the States, and this was a while ago now, I think about 4 years ago, the figures were an Ocrevus patient's worth about $140,000 a year. So this is all US stuff, yeah? And the average length of time somebody stays on it is 7 years. So that's 14 infusions. Yeah? You don't want to start messing around because you can work out the price per infusion. If it's 140, then it's what? It's it's 70 grand an infusion. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane the amount of money.
My mate 600 milligrams.
Yeah. My mate Dr. Bosser in the States, he runs an MS clinic. And when he went out on his own, he had to get a special bank account, and he had to, because he has to buy the drugs before he can claim them back. So he said essentially his overdraft, they call it a line of credit. He said it would suddenly be 1 month, it'd be like $3 million. And the next month he'd be $3 million. Yeah. He said it was just like, and the bank manager was like, what? And they had to get in a specialist sort of pharmaceutical person or medical one to explain to the, shall we say, the local bank manager that this was normal. He wasn't, but he had to show he had all the mechanisms in place to claim the money back quickly. But the actual expenditure would just go like this because the price of the drugs is insane.
It's crazy. I mean, with Ocrevus now being done as subcut, do you think that's a good idea?
I mean, it depends. I tell you what, one of the biggest unknown benefits for me of going to alemtuzumab was I don't have to go near the bloody hospital. I need blood tests, but I don't need, if you think Ocrevus, you got to traipse in and write off at least 3 hours of your day, but you got to get there and you got to get home. And
6 for me.
Yeah, well, some people don't tolerate. Some people they have to really put it in slowly because it makes them. There's a young lady once I sat beside her and she got such bad coughing they just had to dial back the speed of delivery. I mean, it's a very effective drug. It's really, really effective at reducing lesions. Yeah, I mean, our MS still progresses behind, but this is the other reason why you can't just go on lesion activity alone. And some doctors really listen to patients who say, look, I'm feeling a bit crook, this is getting worse. And some are just like, well, your scan's fine. It's like, yeah, but I'm not suddenly full of shit because I've got MS. You know, if I'm telling you that I'm not feeling great, and women get listened to far less than men. It's just obscene. You know, uh, uh, when a bloke says it hurts, he's taken more seriously than when a woman says it hurts. You know, they'll dismiss me. Well, love, it could be that time of month, you know, or is your menopause coming, or all this sort of stuff. And it's like, if I was a girl, I'd probably be locked up in jail now. I would have murdered somebody, you know. And it's just, yeah,
Yeah.
I can't help it. I can't help it. I'm a white guy, you know. But when you're an older white guy, people listen to you more, and that's unfair. It's because you're thinking, I just know how to play the game better now.
When I first got diagnosed, my first neurologist, because I'm on my fourth neurologist, when he diagnosed me, he said, yeah, you've got MS, but it's okay. You can't die from it or end up in a wheelchair. I just sat there and I was like, wow, are you really saying this to me right now? And, I just had the shock of being diagnosed with MS, and I knew what MS roughly was because my mum and dad's neighbour's son had it. So I knew him in a wheelchair from when I was a very young age. And he just laughed at me. And I just think, wow. Yeah. And then he transferred me to his colleague because he was like, oh, sorry, I don't really know much about MS, so I'm going to transfer you to her. And I just thought, but you just said, I can't die from it or end up in a wheelchair. Well, you're wrong there because you can end up in a wheelchair. I'm like,
but they should put it in the context as well. You're way less likely to end up in a wheelchair these days if you start on high efficacy drug,
yeah,
less likely.
Yep.
Nothing's guaranteed, but it's just they forget, I think, when you sit there with them and I don't know, have lunch or something, and all neurologists, you got to understand, they're the chess club of medicine. These are the kids that ask for more homework. When we all ran home, they said they asked for more homework, and they belong to the Dungeons and Dragons and the chess club. And I mean, and they've got PhDs on top of it. I mean, anybody who's spent that long away from other people studying, sometimes my view is, they may have a slight problem relating, and because a neurologist will look at a problem and think, can I get a paper out of this? Whereas an ER doctor might say, let's do something about this now. I've got a friend with MS, and she's the she's the chief operating officer of a hospital trust, and even I had to help her change neurologist because it's just. It's like a female just being dismissed and, mugged off, and it's just,
yeah.
I just think it's insane, and my neurologist.
It's out of line when you think about it.
The female neurologists tend to be better in my view. Yeah. Sorry, I cut across you. It's a delay.
You're freezing, Mike.
I actually currently don't have a neurologist. Where I'm living, my neurologist retired. Oh, am I? Am I back now?
You're back.
Yeah.
Your mouth is not moving at the same
time. Oh, right, okay.
That's
so
okay,
yeah, my neurologist actually retired, and now there is no neurologist that's replaced him. They're still trying to recruit one. So I've actually been told, as it stands at the moment, I don't have a neurologist. I can't ask to speak to one or anything. It's a case of wait until they recruit.
Did you say you're in Lincoln?
Yeah, Lincoln Hospital is where I go, yeah.
Right, and Lincoln Hospital hasn't got an MS neurologist at the moment.
No, my neurologist was Dr. Humberston, a really nice guy, I'll be honest with you. He was actually very good, but he's retired, and as it stands at the moment, they haven't actually replaced him. They've got one that stands in, but he's not actually designed just for that one job. He's doing a lot of other stuff. And actually, he come to examine me 6 months ago when I had my last Ocrevus, and he said to me, so, Mr. Parker, he says, when was your last remission? When did you last go into remission? I said, I haven't. I said, I don't go into remission. I said, I just keep going down and down and down. Said, you've not put on my paperwork that I'm primary progressive, but you've told me that I am. Right, okay, in which case you shouldn't be having Ocrevus. You shouldn't be on treatment. You shouldn't be having Ocrevus. You shouldn't be on treatment.
Oh, see,
They gave me the treatment, but this is where it went. So that the one person that's kind of half taken over has that kind of thought process. It makes it really difficult.
they're following the rules and the guidelines. And the thing is, with good MS neurologists, I was giving a talk once to the MS Society. It was their research week and something. And I'm standing in front of this room full of neurologists. And I said, how many of you, when you look at a patient's MRI, do you like dim the lights slightly and squint and go, that lesion, it looks like it might be active? And they're all cracking up because really good MS neurologists understand the rules, they understand the constraints, and they look for ways to operate around them, still within the rules. But you can't tell me if I felt that lesion had increased by a millimeter, who's going to come? I mean, they think like the medical police are going to kick in the door. They know more than anybody else. And if someone said, are you sure? It would just be like, there's a door, don't let it hit you in the arse as you leave. Of course I'm sure. And it's that they could do that. So that's what I mean. It's when they act like you're trying to take a fiver from them. Some of them look for ways to help you, and others just kind of go, well, those are the rules. And it's like, it's there's different attitudes to the rules. You know what I mean?
Oh, there's always a way of should we say, making a rule extend ever so slightly.
Well, putting you down as primary progressive, So there's relapsing remitting, there's secondary progressive, and there's primary progressive,
Yep.
I've had MS for 34 years. I'm still on paper with the agreement of my neurologist as relapsing remitting MS. God, I'm going to push over the brink of the hill at some point, but it doesn't make any difference for me for drugs now because I had Lemtrada, So, but the longer they can keep you as relapsing remitting, the more drug options, the prescribing options are open to them, So it's, and good ones will kind of give patients and good ones will kind of give patients well, you might feel better some days, and you're going, oh yeah, it's like when I got my first drug, when she said, it's if you come back in 3 months, but it's such a shame that not all of them are like that. Some of them are just wired. They're like the book people, they're the 9-to-5ers. I mean, I know a lot of people who sort of turn up early and go home late and they're not being paid for it, but it's because they care. And also it's the ethos in the hospital. So when you get really good leadership, like at Barts, it's been Gavin Giovannoni. He's just retired and he's handed over to Klaus Schmier, But when you have a really progressive thinker and somebody who wants to do the best for patients like Klaus, that goes all the way through the nurses, everything. And there's a lady up in west of Birmingham, I can't remember, Coventry, called Taranya Aaron, and she's a consultant, and she's got the most amazing team of MS nurses, and they're not getting special funding or something. It's just the way they organized and sat down, and they're not playing React the whole time. They call patients up out of the blue. My mate who is quite senior in the hospital and stuff, but she was just gobsmacked. She rang me up and said, they've just rung me, like, out of the blue to see how I was getting on. She said, I nearly fell off my chair. And it's, but it's just, why can somebody do that, but somebody else can't have that kind of ethos? It's not that they get more money in Coventry to do it. They're just as stretched, because they are stretched everywhere.
Yeah.
And I know a neurologist who's just taken early retirement down in Plymouth because he's so pissed off for the hospital machinations, all the stuff, the hospital just dicking him around from pillar to post, and so he's gone off to do research. Because
the gentleman at is it Derriford Hospital?
No, it's down in Plymouth.
I think I know
But
the one
it's,
you're talking about. The
What's
one there's the one that Sophie went to and had a HSCT treatment.
Yeah, that's
Treatment.
that's the one I'm thinking of. I can't remember the name of it.
Jeremy Hobart is the guy. Jeremy Hobart,
That's the
neurologist, Professor.
that's the name. Yeah. Trying to
Yeah,
remember the name of the hospital. That's
one of
gonna
the few places to give
that's gonna stick to my
Lemtrada in
brain.
the UK.
Yeah.
You're one of the few people to give you modafinil in the UK. You know, and
So
but
he's
he's
using the
not.
drugs that actually are known to help.
I was having a drink with him at. This sounds like name dropping. I was having a drink with him at Action. It was just me and him. We're in Barcelona and we're at a bar. The man drinks like a rugby player. We got 2 beers out. We got this far, and he gone, "Can I have another one, please?" And I'm just like going, Jesus. You know, I said, "Do you play rugby?" And he went, "Oh yeah." And it was just like bang, bang, and like, oh my God, okay, you know, it's like you've got a personality and a life outside of work, you know. And just a super, super nice guy. Yeah, and they helped sponsor me, in fact, for my ride because I rode across Canada. I got sponsors, and he has a CIC called Transform MS. CIC is like a charity, but slightly different structure. You know, and you know, but I mean, some of these people seem to have this like internal energy. You know, Margaret Thatcher only slept 4 hours a night. Well, you want one with Margaret Thatcher syndrome, I call it. You know, and just yeah, they seem to. I thought of something the other day, and it was like 11 at night, just before I was about to go to sleep, and I sent it to Klaus on WhatsApp. Yeah, you know, it's like 11 at night. I'm not expecting a response. I'm not even expecting it to be read, and I got like this half a page on my phone back, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing up? And why are you replying to my messages? It's about a meeting tomorrow, you know, and it's just, and it's like, it's not that we're like good buddies, you know, and it was nothing that was like going to change the world. And he said, "Oh, I'm just reading something." I'm like, Jesus, at 11 o'clock at night. I mean, I'm lucky to be awake at 11. You know,
I'm very rarely.
yeah.
Well, I'll be in bed, not always asleep. It's a good question, Darts. Can you drink alcohol with MS? Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
you can.
absolutely.
Without a doubt. It depends on, from my point of view, I take certain tablets to help with pain, so I will not drink alcohol alongside those tablets. That's nothing to do with the MS, that's my personal
Get
choice.
drunk, 3 beers, and I look like I've had 8. Yeah, I feel like I've had 8. You know,
Yeah.
I get double vision really quickly, and
Yeah.
because my right leg doesn't really act like part of the team anymore anyway, you know, so it's just like, and I can be looking like I'm really pissed. I don't know. I mean, Katie,
I
are
look
you?
like that without, I can drink water and I'll be all right. I can look like I'm
I'd have
pissed.
a glass of wine or 2 and I'm merry already after a glass. It just affects me massively now, so I have to be really careful, and I don't drink much at all.
4 glasses and you're dancing on the table, aren't you?
I'm in bed. I'll be under the table.
You know, clues that I had MS before I got diagnosed. It was somebody showed me a picture once of me at a party when I was about 22, my head back, fast asleep by a speaker. You know, it was like just because I was the guy who could fall asleep. I didn't have any staying power for, you know, and I just fell asleep. It didn't matter the circumstances because I didn't know how I had MS, and I just thought I was being sort of weak and wussy, you know. And you were like with your friends drinking, and then it's just like somebody's pulled the plug out,
Yeah.
you know. And it's like,
Without a doubt.
What do
Brilliant.
you?
Well,
Just a question quickly on to see what you think about HSCT treatment. What do you
I think it should be
about
offered to
it?
everybody. I think it should be. So in the UK, 15% of the beds for this says HSCT is not a neurology thing. It's a not rheumatology.
Yeah, I know what you're
It's-
talking about. Yeah, I can't think of
yeah,
that either.
HSCT. So let's just play pretend for a sec. Your neurologist says, Katie, you know, you've had a conversation, you've been diagnosed. I'd like you to consider HSCT, and you okay, yeah. You go immediately over to it is hematology, the blood, yeah. So blood cancer, it's like normal in blood cancer, you know. Neurologists talk about HSCT like you've handed them a hand grenade with the pin out, you know, and it's number one, it's not on their head. If anything happens to you, is essentially sign the left and go, here you go. Yeah. And over to the hematology team. Everything with HSCT for MS in the UK is dealt with by hematology. Yeah. So what I think about it, if I could turn the clock back, it's a thing I would have scraped together every single penny I had, and I would have gone to Mexico if they weren't doing it here. Yeah, because bear in mind this is 35 years ago. They were starting, Clinica Ruiz, but and even so, I'm 34 years in. I've only really been, should we say, into the discussion and looking at it and moving over into it. I mean, I never used to do anything to do with this, but I had a massive event in 2011 where, and this is the really happy thing, on Boxing Day, we decided to get divorced after 15 years. And then we were friendly and living together. And then I broke my femur on my bicycle because I was out training, because I was going to raise money by riding a fixed gear bike from London to Brussels in 24 hours. It's 240 miles, so it was 10 miles an hour, and I've always ridden bicycles, but I fell off and I broke my femur, that was my first insight into disability, because I can't run now. It looks like I'm trying to pick up sailors if I run, and it's just not a good look. My right leg's out there like this going, hello, but I just can't. I haven't run now but that was and that really sort of changed everything, because I was sitting there. I mean, it took a good year to get even fully operational again, and but that's what got me into it. So when you're back to the HSCT, if I'd known anything about it, because I dealt with my MS by ignoring it, pretending it wasn't there, and just getting on with life, because it's an embuggerance, it's a pain, it's I have things to do, and this isn't one of them. But I'd have HSCT. If you look at the cost of HSCT, it's cheaper overall. So it's about, I don't know what, 45 grand up front these days.
50,000. Mexico quoted me 50,000.
Okay, so no, that's Mexico.
60 I got quoted.
Oh,
No,
wow.
no. So I'm talking about the cost of the NHS. I think it's even less. It's 37,000 or something. Yeah. But if you think about the cost of your Ocrevus or whatever, if you got people early, get them HSCT, it's not a cure, but it's the best damn set of chemical breaks, and whereas they get all flappy about it in the neurology world, hematology, it's like, it's kind of something they do every day. Like I said, 15% of beds in the UK for HSCT for MS are, in theory, the hematology beds. 15% are for MS patients. They're never full. You'd rather the problem would be, geez, we want more of these. Can we have a greater share? Nah, no chance. And there's a guy at Imperial called Richard. Can't remember. He refers people to it. I know a couple of people that have had it through him. On the NHS. It's pretty simple if you think about it. I mean, it sounds brutal, but it's you have the whole point of HSCT is you take your stem cells out in a process called apheresis. It looks like blood dialysis. Yeah, so you go in, they just run your blood through this machine, strips out the stem cells. They want to get a certain amount. So again, it's better when you're younger and sooner, because you're going to have more kicking around. And mine are going to be pretty tired, I think. Going, really? What? But and so apheresis, they freeze them, then they bring you into hospital, and then essentially the idea is to poison you near to death without killing you, with cyclophosphamide, which is a drug that takes out your immune system. In Canada, they'll also do something called beam radiation therapy. There's different ways but the aim is to wipe out the immune system, and then once you're there, they will then feed you back your stem cells, and it's like, have a go on a new playing field, lads. It's just, I mean, essentially that's it. It's like, regrow with less of the MSE crap in there, preferably none. But you can hear the depth of my medical knowledge here, the MSE crap, and it's but that's it essentially. And I mean, on my channel, because I have a YouTube channel, that I followed a girl called Rachel through it all in the UK. You know, so she'd shoot me videos from looking a bit rough, having a bit of a shit time, you know, lost on my hair and everything. But now you see, you know, everything. She's a vice president at a bank in London, and you know, her MS was, she failed 3 rounds of alemtuzumab. I mean, I'm not telling you anything you can't see on the video, yeah, because I asked Rachel what I could and couldn't say.
Yeah.
She was really cool and was really open about it, because it's hard, but it's about front loading the risk, you know. It's saying, right, I've got this disease for my whole life, you know. It's going to be a bit shit right now, but I'm doing this for the long term. You know, and she said when she went out for a run, she stopped running and just stopped and started bursting into tears at the side of the road. And someone's like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "I'm so happy to be running." And they're like, "She's mad." It's just, yeah, but she said the overwhelming feeling of emotion, just being able to do something she hadn't done for ages.
So long.
You know, and the earlier it's done, the more reports people are saying of getting lost function back. The longer it goes, you know, the MS goes before you give stem cells, the less you benefit from it.
Yeah.
You know,
you can imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's something called, if anybody wants to Google it, it's called the leaky pool model of MS. Yeah, and it's a really good graphical description of how you lose your functional reserve over time. Yeah, and it's done by a guy called Stephen Krieger, this professor in the States. And it's the leaky pool model of MS. And essentially you're trying to preserve your functional reserve. And this is why brain health and exercise and all these things is so important. I just think we're having endless discussions, because my view is, if I can help you, if you decide that you want to do stuff and exercise, so whether it's in a wheelchair and you want to lift up a tin of beans, or whether you want to go and do an Ironman, you know, but I can't make you want to do that. And if anybody could come up with it, because I keep saying to them, they keep talking. I sit on these things like this. God, it sounds like name dropping when I hear myself say it. Sitting in Chicago for looking at rewriting the exercise standards for in MS. Yeah, you know, I keep saying to them, yeah, but the elephant in the room is how to get people to do this, because we're all pretty good at saying, okay, so you've decided, you know, when somebody turns up at the door and says, I want to do this, it's pretty, that's much easier. It's how do you convince somebody? It's like an anti-vaxxer. If they're an anti-vaxxer, you're not going to convince them by telling them the science around vaccines. They've made up their mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're just, so if somebody doesn't want to exercise, my view is, I can tell you all the good stuff about it, but, you know, I'm wasting my breath, really, aren't I? You know, until you decide you want to do it. You know, it's like I've got a vaccine here for you, but until you want to have it, you know, short of holding you down and like sticking it in your backside, I can't make you have it. You know, and it sounds yeah. Anyway, but so if anybody knows how to put the magic bullet in the gun and fire it at somebody and make them want to do it, especially when you're newly diagnosed, imagine how screwed up you feel.
Yeah.
Oh,
Your first year or two, you're just your brain's like a washing machine of what is happening to me. You know,
it's
And then
just
you-
a constant grieving process. In that respect, it's constant grieving.
you're grasping at any straw as well, and this is where people are really susceptible. And then some arsehole comes along and says, "Oh, here's a cure for MS," and it's just like, you know, I did a one of the videos was like myth busting, because this some hooky clown in Dubai with some of these herbal pills to cure your MS,
Oh,
and then
I've
it
had
turned out they
everything.
sold.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and it's like, yeah, you know, and I'm sure we've all had those people that suddenly drop into your comments and go, you know, Dr. Hip Hop's magic herbal cure, you know, have you ever heard about it? And you're like, who are you, Block?
Yeah.
You know, but
I get that every day
Yeah.
on my videos. Every single day I get that, and I've had in the past do a parasite cleanse. It will cure MS, or
Yeah.
parasites that cause MS. So do a parasite cleanse and you'll be cured.
Yeah, if
The
I'm
amount
ever
of
that
people that
simple,
have said
that's
to me about Parasite Cleanse, and I just want to punch him in the face. Seriously, it's the most ridiculous thing in the world.
yeah. I
Anyone with the
mean,
smallest bit of knowledge knows it's not the case.
yeah. I mean, it's only good for cancer, isn't it? But it's sorry. Somebody was telling me, have you tried coffee enemas? And it's like, hang on a second. Tell me it's cool, and like not hot coffee, and like I'm not going to rinse my backside out with coffee, no matter how much you know. It's just like, yeah. And they're going, oh, no, no, this makes you feel so much better. And I'm like, it's because you're absorbing caffeine in your lower intestine. That could be the only explanation. You know, but still, what a waste of coffee. And very undignified, isn't it, as well? Can you imagine if the fire alarm went off and you had a hose up your bum and they're putting coffee in you? You're standing in the street going, I can explain, officer. And I know it looks weird, but yeah, I paid for this. And it's just like, but yeah, I mean, I say to people, if somebody asks for money, that should be when you shut down, yeah?
Yeah.
But the other thing, do you guys take supplements?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Kinda. Yeah, kinda.
Oh, I'm embarrassed by the ones, and I've got this little bit voice in my head going, the science says they probably don't work, and the other one's going, yeah, but I got my fingers crossed, but my neurologist actually said to me, coenzyme Q10 and vitamin D. I get my vitamin D prescribed, and I take 5,000 IU of vitamin D a day. And you'll find over half the neurologists, it was this big meeting, will put their hands up and go, oh yeah, we take vitamin D. It's like, right, okay. But yeah, coenzyme Q10. I take magnesium. I've just started, but I can't decide if it makes any difference or not. But I am talking to you at 9:30, so maybe it does.
Do you know what? I was taking magnesium for a bit. Go on,
Yeah.
Kate.
No, it does. It does help me, magnesium, with sleep.
Do you? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Just give it time, but it will kick in, and it does. It does help me. So, but then everyone's different.
No, but also there's
So
the
for me,
placebo
for a
effect, and
month,
there's
I
the
took
fact
it did well.
when you spend money on something, you want it to work. You don't want to feel that you've made a poor financial decision. And I mean, my view on supplements is provided they're not going to kill you and you can afford it, take it, as long as you don't actually believe that turmeric is doing something to you for your immune system. But it's so hard, isn't it? Turmeric parasites. Did the parasites like turmeric? Did they get on? It's just like you're thinking, oh my God, all these people.
I mean, I take turmeric capsules every day because that's good for inflammation. That helps me a lot because I've got fibro as well. So I see that does help me a little bit. I'm not saying it's a cure because it's not, but it does help me a lot with my body. But every day is different. So,
So they've done some awesome studies on placebos because we're all, no matter how much we like to think that we're immune to this, yeah? And do you know what the best placebos are?
Go on.
The red ones. Because red ones are more effective in our brain. If you're given a white pill and a red pill, and they're both sugar pills, but you're told there's something else, everybody, they've done it from professional cyclists, the whole lot, the red ones work better. And it can be zero in there, and you will get people will train harder. They will believe that this drug is making them more able, but they're training harder because it shows you that your brain is actually can overtake your body, with things. So when it was these cyclists training, the ones who are given the red pills, it sounds like the Matrix. The ones who are given the red pills pushed themselves harder in the full belief that they were getting this super supplement. But the other people with the white ones, not so much. And it was the same thing. It's just how they
psychological effect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So all I'm saying is we're all susceptible. It doesn't matter how much you think you know or whatever. Yeah, we're all susceptible.
Yeah.
But I love the fact. I'm just saying I want all my pills to be red because they're bound to be better.
Just a quick question for you, because there's a lot of people that don't know what you did, but how did you come about in wanting to cycle across Canada to raise money?
Again, I blame a neurologist. He was one of the cool ones. It was a guy called Matt Crane. But Matt was my neurologist for the Tecfidera trial. So it's an NHS neurologist. But you see, oh, that's the other thing. Get on a drug trial. You see your doctor so much more frequently, and the data shows that you do better if you have a greater contact with your healthcare professionals. Yeah, and they have more time to spend with you on a trial as well. So anyway, that's my little. So Matt and I were chatting one day. He was actually a surgeon commander in the Navy as well, but he did half NHS, half military stuff. And we were chatting in Oxford, and there's this knock on the door, and Anna, the nurse, comes in, and she looks and says, "What are you two doing?" Because we were around the same side of the desk, and we had a piece of paper out, and Matt had drawn a rough map of the States, and he was showing me the route that he'd cycled across the States, and I was drawing the route that I wanted to cycle across Canada. And we were both on this because he was into cycling like me. And it was just so, I've always remembered. And Matt said to me, "I think you've done so well with your MS because you've been so active." Because, I've never set out to go to the gym. I've just done stuff. Yeah. So whether it's like cycling or climbing or whatever. And so that's the background, Katie. And then decided, because you know what MS is like? It's like sort of Damocles hanging over your head. It's like, when am I not going to be able to do something the next day? When am I not going to be able to walk, have sex, not go to the loo 4 times a night? Whatever it is. It's like you don't know when this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a sort of now or never thing. And I was speaking to another guy, Prof G, and we decided this at Extremes not last year, but the year before. And I went about getting sponsorship. A recumbent trike. I don't know if you can see that. It's my screensaver.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I wrote across that. So, the money we've raised a reasonable amount of money. I've started something called the Craner Foundation because it seemed to make sense. Matt Craner, his wife said I could name it that. And because I can't just go, "Here, put the money in my bank account," because it kind of doesn't work like as straight as I am. It just looks a bit shifty if you take funds you've raised and go, "I'll look after them." But so we've got a formal structure, and it's called the Craner Foundation. And the aim is to support brain health projects. So not be a sort of frontline charity, but to sit back and say, let's say the MS Society, for argument's sake, is doing a brain health project, to help them, support them with that. Yeah. So it's kind of being standing behind, because I don't like the way all the charities operate, but if somebody's doing a particular project about brain health, we want to support that. It might be helping them buy T-shirts, it might, who knows? It's not going to be huge sums of money, but it's just to help encourage these things. So it's, but I'm half Canadian. You can probably hear a twang in my voice. And so I just decided to cycle across Canada because I thought, if I don't do it now, I never will. And I'm gutted because I only did 9 out of the 10 provinces, because by the time I got to the BC-Alberta border, and this wasn't really MS, my body shut down with something called rhabdomyolysis, which is brought about by endurance exercise, and the body gets pissed off with you and starts to eat the muscles itself. And I had a pretty bumpy 4 weeks. It was deeply unpleasant. I was peeing 8 times a night. I was all hunched up. I could get up 3 stairs before I ran out of breath and sounded like an old lady with heart failure. I couldn't have a conversation. And my neurologist and I were sort of chatting back and forth, and she said, "You've got to stop." Because being a bloke, who wants to listen to your body? But it turns out I was getting messages about sort of 2 weeks in advance from my body going, "It'd be a great time to just wind it back a bit." And you're like, "Oh, stop being so soft." And then my legs just went, "No, we're not doing this." And I'm like, "No, yes you are. Keep pressing." They're like, "No, we're not." And it was kind of having this internal monologue going, "Don't be an arse." And legs are going, "You're the arse." And and I stopped, and I got picked up, but I was pretty sick. It took 4 weeks to turn the corner, even till I was not out of breath, the whole thing. It's just but hey, I'd rather die trying. you know, than you know, just sit there and think about it and wish I had done it. I'm not going, you know.
But you've done so
And to
well.
be
You've
honest
done
with you,
so much as well. So, you know, you've raised money in the
Stupid. I haven't
meantime.
got an off button. I was stupid. Blokes, and you'll get this. In my brain, I'm 18. You know, my body isn't, but in my brain, I'm 18. So my 18-year-old brain goes, do you know what would be a great idea? If you rode across Canada and you took all your stuff with you, your tent, the whole lot. If I had any brains, I would have had a support vehicle. But I'm like, oh no, camping every night, that'll be awesome. You know, and it's not that I don't know how to, but it was just, I didn't put the load on myself with the cycling. It's just the repetition. You know, I was only doing about, well, I say only for me, only 50 miles a day. You know, which if you look at that over a whole day and you cycle a lot, that's not a busting amount. But I was humping around 25 kilos of luggage as well. And you have to find a campsite, put your tent up, all this and all that other stuff that adds up. If I'd just been able to stop and get in a motorhome, because somebody was following me with a motorhome, that would have been brilliant. You know, and you just like eat a big pasta meal and like faint and go to sleep. But that's 2020 hindsight. I've got one province left, so we're trying to work out how to do up this distance. You know, I might go and it takes a month though. I might go and walk across BC. Or I might, you know, I don't walk well. I need walking poles. You know, or do I say I don't know, but I want to make up that. You know, I haven't done the whole thing.
that was going to be my next question, actually, as a follow up. What would be if you could do another challenge similar to that? What would it be? Have you already got something in your mind to think, I now want to achieve this?
You realise this is very dangerous talk.
Next week you'll see a post from Dom saying he's doing it.
It's yeah. Hang on, what's that?
We're interested.
It's just I know I walked. You know the South Downs Way. It's a 100-mile path that goes somewhere. So I over in COVID, just when some of the lockdowns were coming up, I walked that and I raised £7,000 for the. I split it between the three. £7,000 for the. I split it between the three MS charities. You know, Shift MS, the MS Society, and the MS Trust. You know, I wasn't even going to raise money. I was doing it for myself. And then Gavin, Prof G, talked me into, you know, why don't you make it a fundraising thing? And so I did it last minute. And I was going to take 5 days, but it only took 4 days because, frankly, there's nothing else to do. You wake up in the morning, break up your tent, and it's like you put one foot in front of the other, and your body follows, and you know, and you stop when you get tired. You know, and it turns out that's about 25 miles a day. I'm not sure I could do that now. My right leg is just slowly getting shittier. You know, like dragging and stuff, and I'm always in the do I take a cane, don't I take a cane mood. You know, so I've got to go into London for a trial on Thursday. You know, that I'm not a participant. I'm doing stuff, and we're going to an investigators meeting, but I don't want to take my cane because just everybody just like identifies you immediately. You know, I mean, the only thing is if you want to get a seat on the bus or the train or whatever, yeah. I mean, you get pregnant ladies throwing themselves up, going, "Sit here." It's like, no, I'm fine. You sit down. You know, and it's because they're all looking at you, going, "You're a bit young to have a cane." Somebody went, "Oh, mate, what happened?" And I went, "Well, it was a really big bomb." And he just looked at me, and I said, "You know, well." You know, but it was that kind of annoying question, you know. I mean, I've got friends who've been in both those wars, and you know, so it's not something you want to joke about. Well, I don't, but it's people make assumptions about you. You know, it's not whether you're in a wheelchair, you got a cane, or you know, people say, "Oh, people think I'm drunk because I'm walking like this," you know. And it's like when I was picking up Mark to put him in his wheelchair, you know, and that woman stared at us, and he went, "Don't worry, we're getting married soon," you know, and so. It's just, I have said to somebody in the past who's just staring at me, I sort of walked up and said, "Are there any questions I can answer for you?" And they went, "What?" I said, "Well, you seem to be quite interested, and I don't mind answering questions, so get it off your chest." And they were horrified because English don't do this, you know, and so, but it was just, you know, I don't know. So You got kids, haven't you, Katie?
Yes, I have. I got two. Yeah,
Yeah, they're both boys.
one boy, one girl.
Yeah, who's the more sensible one of the two?
Uh,
Ah,
what?
okay.
That's really hard because they're both on the
Okay,
same level.
let me rephrase that. Which one doesn't think they're going to die, whatever they do, and who's a little more Who would you give a driving license to first? The
My
boy or the
son,
girl?
my son.
Your son.
Yeah.
Your son's more sensible. Well, God, when I got a driving license, he was like unleashing this idiotic arsehole in the world. You know, when you're
Well,
17, just you're
he's
Michael
he's
Schumacher.
learning. Yeah, no, he's learning at the moment. He's doing lessons at the moment, but I know my daughter would be sensible as well. But I don't know. It's a really tough question.
Well, I can tell you, I told you I was in the police long ago, young men in cars, and I was one, you know. As soon as you get there with your pals, it's like A, you're invincible, B, I'm pretty sure it will go faster. Yeah. It's just yeah, and then you're like sliding along on the roof going, oh, I may have overdone that a bit. And it's just but yeah, I've got a 23-year-old daughter who's just like, don't be an idiot. You know, that's it's like, don't be an idiot, Daddy.
I mean, my son, I thought it'd be really. I mean, he's getting his confidence a little bit, but he's actually quite nervous on the road, and he's nervous for when he does pass to be on the road. Whereas my daughter's very confident. She's like, I can't wait to drive. I can't wait to drive, and so they're very different that way. But now he's getting into it. He's getting there, but he's still very nervous at the minute.
Yeah. Yeah, all you need to do is, have you ever watched The Inbetweeners? It's when Jay, you know, what's that famous bus wankers? But it's just yeah, but yeah, it's like it's when you get them all together, I find, you know, a bunch of young men, and it's all like yeah, it's just yeah, that's why their car insurance is so high. But yeah, but no, but that's I mean, I just had that really badly when I was younger. You know, it's like you want to go, you don't want to jump off a 15-foot cliff. You want to see, oh, there's one up there. That's much higher. That'll be more fun. You know, and it's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just that, you know, I've got the idiot gene. I don't know. It's just that, you know, I've got the idiot gene or something. It's just, you know, but back to the, what do I want to do next? Something that's difficult. You know, it's, I want to go hiking away from everything, you know. I mean, the South Downs Way, I took everything in a backpack. It's about 14 kilograms, you know, tent, food, the whole lot. And I did it because it was just in that sort of post-COVID time where you weren't all hanging out together. You kind of talk,
Hmm.
you know, but it's, and outside was fine. But, I mean, I just like that, you know, it just stops the voices in your head, doesn't it? When you're really working hard, you're doing something like that. It's like cycling up a hill or walking or something, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's a mental health thing for me. It's just, you know, when you're thinking about what you're doing and that's all you can think about, that's kind of fun for me. It's called type 2 fun because it's really excellent when it's finished.
So as of now, we're going to be watching really closely for the next announcement of guess what I'm doing next.
Yeah, but you know, I said rhabdomyolysis. I'm not allowed to work out for 4 months. Yeah, Sharmali, my neurologist, was, you know, she said, you don't understand how serious it is and how you had a very close call. Because, I mean, he can kill you without being melodramatic. So it was like, it was kind of cool that it didn't. But it did really bug me up for a bit. And I was having worrying bits where you're thinking, have I screwed this up permanently? You know, you're thinking, you know, this is not good. And it's when you don't turn the corner initially and you're thinking, oh, I've really screwed it now. But then it started to. I remember I got interviewed on Breakfast TV in Canada. It was really weird. I was there in all my cycling kit and my trike and everything. And I think I'm trying to put on this brave face, but that was the day when I started to feel better. It was really weird. And I felt less crap, put it like that. So it was just, but thankfully my brother lives out near Vancouver, so I just stayed with him. You know, so it was nice. I had a place to crash. You know, and they've got a big house. And it was just like, oh, you know, stay here. So it really reduced the whole sort of anxiety of, what am I going to do about all the other stuff. He just took it all out of my hands and said, there's a bed, there's a fridge, there's a bed, there's a fridge, help yourself, buff. Which is really helpful to have somebody to do that. Yeah, but what am I going to do? Should we do, if you're in your wheelchair, should we do something together? I don't know, pushing a long distance or something, and then, and if you annoy me, I can just let the brake off down a hill. But
would you consider doing some smaller things in a build-up? I mean, one of the things that, I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of tempted by myself. In Scotland, there is like a bungee jumping place. And it's, okay, it's only something smaller, but do you know what? It looks really fun. And that's the kind of thing that I think, as a small sort of build-up.
Bungee, I want it to be the biggest, bloody, scariest friggin' bungee possible. I don't want any of this nonsense off a crane, I want to think I might die. And then just before, it's like skydiving, and go skydiving. Wouldn't it be great in a wheelchair to have the parachute on the back and then just wheel out the side of the airplane? It's like, see you, suckers.
Skydiving's incredible. I did it for MS Society. It's the best thing in the world.
Did you do a tandem free fall?
It's tandem, yeah.
Yes.
And the best bit of it was the free fall. You come out of the plane, and my instructor, he actually did a backflip as we come out of the plane. I was laughing. I thought it was hilarious. I could not stop laughing.
Well, it's really weird when you're skydiving. My first ever feeling was, I thought I get a feeling of falling, but you don't, because your only visual reference is the plane, and you jump off the plane, and all of a sudden it seems to shrink, and you think, I'm going to get this, like, this awful, but our brain needs things to see, like buildings or stuff, and then when you get about 20 feet from the ground, you know what it's like, and all of a sudden you get this ground rush, because I'm hanging under the canopy the first time going, oh, God, this is a bit dull. And then it's just, and then all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, smack, because you're just not ready for it, and that's how you break your ankle and stuff. But yeah, I used to ski as well. I used to ski a lot. When I was 18, I didn't go to university because, as far as I was concerned, I knew everything at 18. So I went to be a ski instructor because there was skiing girls drug better when you're 18, in Canada. So it was, but yeah, I went to university late in life. After I broke my femur and got divorced and thought, well, the world's up in a spin. What am I going to do? One of my friends talked me into it. So
look at what you've done. Look at how much you've succeeded since all of that. And this is just it. You've stuck two fingers up to MS.
If anybody wants to give me any money, but you say succeeded, but it's I'm starting to do some other work now. I mean, I do bits and pieces of consulting, but you know what it's like with MS? You don't know what kind of day you're going to have. And some days it's like, modafinil or not, it's like, I just feel like, and then other days you're on fire and you're sort of, working away. But you don't want to overdo it because you think, I'm going to pay the next day if I just like knock it out of the park today. But then you get when you're reading a book and you just think, I've read the same page 4 times and I've lost the plot entirely. And it's, I'm sometimes just staring at my computer. And I'm trying to put out now, I've changed how I do my social media. I'm trying to put out daily content now, but short videos. I used to do much longer interviews with experts and stuff, but it turns out that people don't want to watch something too long. So I'm trying to really work on condensing it. It's actually quite hard work to make a short video that looks like it's off the cuff.
Yeah.
It really can be. That's kind of what I do for a living now. I'm a gaming content creator, and on my gaming channel, I'll come out first thing in the morning. Mainly Fortnite, predominantly Fortnite. But I'll come out and I'll make a video less than a minute long, and I'll try and make it quite engaging. It's very difficult to do.
Yeah. Very
difficult to do, but actually quite rewarding when you look at it and you think, well, there's 1,000 people that's watched that video. I've just done a stream. 20,000 people have just come through that stream.
Really? Jeez.
Oh, yeah. To give you an idea, the last 28 days, I've streamed to about 300,000 people.
Is that the sound of all the money landing in your bank account? I mean, I don't know
Oh,
how it works.
I can tell you that's not even what you class as part time money. But it's not
Really?
the point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
not.
make 60 quid a
It's
month
good.
from YouTube. £60 a month. It's like enough to have a few beers. But then I've got 5,000 subscribers, but YouTube pay you for the longer people watch things. And people,
That's
I was
right.
suddenly being really naive. I was sort of serving myself, thinking, well, this is really good and people want to know this. But then when you start looking at the data, you think, actually, they don't, you know? And I resolved, and when I went to Ekstrom's, I thought, I'm changing this up. And I just grab a neurologist that I knew and went, even then, even the good ones are going, tell me the one thing for patients that you've learned at Ekstrom's. And they'll start to go on about that. And I'm going, no, for patients. Oh, right. And it's because some of them have got a pre-prepared spiel, but I'm like, no, for patients, you
Yeah.
know, because ultimately it should all be, and it sounds arrogant, but it should all be for us,
Yeah, it
the
should.
people,
Yeah,
we're the
I totally agree.
recipients, but we end up becoming like these pawns on the chessboard, because they're having this whole academic thing and they're all rubbing their egos intellectually. I call it intellectual masturbation. They're all sitting there and just, you know, yeah, trying to out clever each other. I mean, academic ego is unbelievable. They look all nice and smiley, but they're really just trying to sharpen up the academic. But it's like they are like I said, the chess club. They're the nerds. So it's like, oh, I did a really good chess move on him. Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, oh no. I mean, they're just like you see them. But it's all about getting funding for studies, and it's being who's in with the drug companies and who's getting paid to speak by the drug companies and do all this stuff. And it's good money if you're a doctor, all the drug company engagement.
Yeah.
It's a nice little earner. And I don't resent them for it, but some of them chase it harder than others. And
I
you can
suppose
kind of tell the one.
it's very much a case for them of, well, the month before they've seen their bank balance rolling, and they think, well, now I can't let that stop. So what have I got to do next to go slightly above that? And in the month after that, how can I go above that? And
No, they're
it never
scatty
ends in that
professors.
respect.
Honestly, they make good money, but they're scatty professors. I mean, I asked one who I do work for at the university. I said, how can I claim expenses for this? And they go, oh, check your email. There's a picture of the university credit card, and the next email's got a picture of the back. And I rang them up and went, are you mad? And they're like, what? I said, you've just emailed over email pictures of the credit card. It belongs to you. Oh yeah, just use that to get what you need. And I'm like, what, like tickets to Bolivia? I mean, it's just, but they didn't know, but they genuinely didn't know that this was not a clever idea. Yeah. I said, I'll secure these images. I'll put them in a secure vault. I'll destroy them, and we will never tell the people in the finance department because they will go mental. Okay. You just don't do that. But I've got this credit card now. So, and he knows I've got it. And he said, it's like, you get your flights to Ekstrom's on it or whatever, because it comes out of the research budget of the university. And it's just like, I've got your credit card, for Christ's sake.
Wow.
Trust me, and I'm not going to do anything dumb, but you think, I wonder how far I could get before the alarms were raised. Like, he flew first class to Brazil, and you've never seen him again. Right? Okay.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But it speaks to their kind of minds, is what I mean. Yeah, he's super nice, super smart, really cares for patients, but things like money and stuff like that, he's like the absent-minded professor. I mean, really. And when I was doing my undergraduate degree, the professor I had came up with one of the sort of accepted definitions for fascism, and it's really sort of because I did a history degree. It's I can't even remember what it was, but it's like Roger, where I went, and he said, "Oh, I was standing in the Tesco on the Cowley Road." He said, and it just hit me. and I dropped all my bags of shopping. And he's in the middle of the supermarket, and he's